right, Dante's Boxing Nation over here with the man, the miracle man,
I'm
Danny
feeling happy,
Jacobs.
Dante.
Man.
I got a chance to meet you, brother.
Oh,
it's been an honor, man. I've always followed your work.
I appreciate
I want to say I appreciate you for supporting the sport of boxing, doing such a positive job supporting us fighters. You put our lives on the line, and you do such a tremendous, respectful job of doing what you do for us, and I want to commend you, brother.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Eddie Hearn is only one middleweight away from completing a complete monopoly at the middleweight division. You know, after I did my video reporting that Deontay Wilder, he's going to meet face-to-face with the executive chairman of Dazn next week to discuss a potential deal, I told you guys in that video, if Deontay Wilder and Danny Jacobs are still signed to Al Haymon, and they can work with Dazn concurrently to get more fights, then that means Jermall Charlo can do the same thing. And I told you guys, hopefully Jermall does follow suit. Hopefully he follows Deontay Wilder's lead. And right after I said that, there was an article, an interview that Eddie Hearn did where he echoed my exact sentiments. Eddie Hearn, he understands having Jermall Charlo would once again be a complete monopoly in the middleweight division. He will have all of the biggest middleweights. So now Eddie Hearn is aggressively pursuing Jermall Charlo. This is what he had to say. We've got Triple G, Canelo, Andrade, and Jacobs. You'll be paid 3 times as much money as you're making at the moment and fight all those guys. What the F are you waiting for? End quote. If everything Eddie Hearn just said right there is true, then it would be a no-brainer for Jermall Charlo to go over to Dazn, especially if it does not affect his relationship with Al Haymon. I told you guys in my last video about Deontay Wilder that Al Haymon is actually going with Deontay Wilder to meet with Dazn. So that means he definitely doesn't have a problem with his fighters going over to Dazn. There's no doubt about it, I believe everything Eddie Hearn said, he's genuine when he says it. But it's really hard for me to believe that Gennady Golovkin will get in the ring with Charlo. I truly believe that Gennady Golovkin, there is no fighter he fears more than a Jermall Charlo. You guys have to remember, Jermall Charlo has been Gennady Golovkin's mandatory for 2 years. Now keep in mind, soon as Dominic Wade became Golovkin's mandatory, Golovkin fought him right away. So you fans, when you fans try to defend Gennady Golovkin, it is impossible when you say stuff like, oh, Charlo is a bum, Charlo is this, he's that. Okay, so who's better, Dominic Wade or Charlo? Willie Monroe or Jermall Charlo? We all know that's a rhetorical question. Both Willie Monroe and Dominic Wade were Gennady Golovkin's mandatories. But when Jermall Charlo and Sergey Derevyevchenko were Golovkin's mandatories, Golovkin did not fight them. In fact, Golovkin, he gave up his IBF belt to avoid Sergey Derevyevchenko. And if he didn't lose to Canelo, he would have gave up his WBC belt to not fight Jermall Charlo. So according to the fans that try to defend Gennady Golovkin's actions, if we use your logic, that means Gennady Golovkin, he should have never fought Willie Monroe, Dominic Wade, Vanis Manarosian. And in fact, that means you guys are actually saying that all Golovkin fights is bums. If you believe that Charlo is a bum and we know that Charlo is better than all those previous fighters that I just mentioned. So this is how we know that Jermall Charlo is the most dangerous fighter at the middleweight division, at least perceived by these two fighters, Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. I always tell you guys, the difference from Canelo and Gennady Golovkin is Canelo, he may avoid these fighters for some time, but eventually he'll get in the ring with the majority of them. But with Gennady Golovkin, he really has no intentions of getting in the ring with anyone other than Canelo Alvarez. But I think that is going to change. I have confidence that Eddie Hearn and Dazn, they are going to push him to fight somebody in that 6-fight deal. The fact that Eddie Hearn is all but making it a guarantee that if Charlo signs with Dazn, he will definitely get to fight the likes of Golovkin, Canelo, Danny Jacobs, Demetrius Andrade. For Eddie to say that, that means he definitely has confidence that those fights can come to fruition. Something else he said that was pretty interesting is he said Jermall Charlo is going to make 3 times the amount of money fighting against these fighters compared to him being with Showtime. What that tells us is, once again, the excuses that fans make for Gennady Golovkin not wanting to fight someone like a Jermall Charlo with Demetrius Andrade or a rematch with Danny Jacobs. They'll say something like, well, you guys have to understand Golovkin, he's just going after the money right now. That's not true, because Eddie Hearn is proving that if Golovkin were to fight any of these fighters, Golovkin is going to get the exact money he wants for those fights. On top of that, it's already been reported that Gennady Golovkin, he has elected to take a soft touch as his first opponent back on this Dazn deal. So once again, this proves that this is not about money, because if Golovkin would have got in the ring with Demetrius Andrade, he would have made more money for a title shot against Demetrius Andrade than he would most likely make against his first opponent on Dazn. And when Golovkin elected to fight against Vanes Martirosyan, do you guys know that he could have made 2 to 3 times more if he would have fought against Jermall Charlo? So Golovkin, he basically took a pay cut to avoid stiffer competition, and he gave up his belt. You know, and just to once again respond to you fans that leave comments in the comment section and you try to defend Golovkin by saying, hey, well, he beat Danny Jacobs. Number one, a lot of people believe that Gennady Golovkin lost to Danny Jacobs. The question is, why didn't Golovkin do the same thing Floyd Mayweather did with Castillo? Some people thought Castillo had beat Floyd Mayweather in the first fight. So Floyd Mayweather, he came right back and gave Castillo a rematch. Why didn't Golovkin do the same thing with Danny Jacobs? And the answer is simple and obvious, because Danny Jacobs was a lot tougher than Golovkin anticipated. You guys have to remember, going into the Jacobs fight, fans were saying that Jacobs was a bum. They were saying that he was a bum because in that first fight, everyone was basing Danny Jacobs' whole career on the fact that he had previously been knocked out before. People looked at Danny Jacobs as a fighter who didn't have a chin, and Golovkin would run through him like a Dominic Wade. But after Golovkin and fans seen the way Danny Jacobs performed, and the fact that he ended up beating 3 undefeated fighters in a row after that, this is now a different version of Danny Jacobs that Gennady Golovkin is in no hurry to fight. But once again, Canelo, he had enough confidence to get in the ring with Canelo again, but he did not have the same confidence to get back in the ring with Danny Jacobs. And this is the reason why I give Canelo way more credit fighting against Danny Jacobs than when Golovkin fought against Danny Jacobs. Because Canelo is willing to get in the ring with the best version of Danny Jacobs. And right now, Gennady Golovkin is not. It was also reported that Gennady Golovkin, he's supposed to announce his next opponent this week coming up. We'll see who it is. It has already been strongly emphasized he will not face a tough opponent. He wants to get a 3rd fight with Canelo Alvarez in September. But I think that's a little unfair, because while Canelo Alvarez has to fight a tough opponent, Gennady Golovkin, he gets to cherry pick. I mean, it's almost like Canelo Alvarez, he has to go up against a playoff type of opponent. While Gennady Golovkin, he doesn't even have to fight a playoff opponent. He can pick whoever he wants to fight, and he'll still be rewarded a Canelo Alvarez fight next. So I'm gonna close with saying this. It would be a great move for Jermall Charlo to go to Dazn and get the fights that he really wants to get, just like Deontay Wilder, Danny Jacobs, and Demetrius Andrade did. And I really love the idea of less pay-per-view fights or no more pay-per-view fights. So let's see what Jermall Charlo decides to do. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.